welcome to another week of the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. I'm Mike Conti with Jason Longshore. We are Atlanta United's radio broadcast team. We sure needed the week of rest with no midweek matches. I can only imagine the players and the technical staff feel the same. So we are ready to break down this week's match against Club de Foot Montreal. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun, Jason. We're going to have a full soccer configuration at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Saturday. It's going to be great to see the stadium relatively full again. And it'll be a big match for Atlanta United this weekend because they have had a lot of work to do, and they've had to work very, very hard to get some draws over the last week or two.
Look, this is a team that hasn't played at home very much in 2021. They've been on the road. Travel's a little more difficult at the moment. You've got a lot of day of the game travel. There's just so many things that are different about 2021 so far. To be able to come home, to be able to have a full week of preparation for an opponent for the first time in a while, and to be able to play in front of the 17s in a full soccer configuration, there's going to be a lot of kind of newness to what we see this weekend against Montreal. It's going to be a big lift to the team.
It certainly will. And it feels like in many ways, things are starting to get back to normal. Like I said, full soccer configuration Saturday at the Benz. Last Sunday at Miami, Joseph Martinez scored. So, like I said, things feel like they're getting back to normal. Atlanta United played under Miami to a 1-1 draw. Let's break down what happened last Sunday, Jason. And I don't think there's much doubt that conditions and match compression definitely had a big, big factor as the day went on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, game of two halves. It was hot. It was humid. It was difficult for Atlanta to finish it out, but Atlanta United played really well early on. And we see the involvement of a third man in the attack here with Emerson Hyndman. Brooks Lennon, Jake Mulroney working on the right side. Hyndman brings it into Joseph Martinez, but he continues his run. That opens up the space for Joseph to get his first goal in a long time. And you see how much it meant to Joseph. You see how much it meant to the training staff for Atlanta United, who's worked with him tirelessly to get him back to full fitness. What a goal from Joseph Martinez on the turn.
No doubt about it. Vintage Joseph. So that put Atlanta United up 1-0. But unfortunately, they had so much time left to kill, and they could not find a second goal.
Some mistakes early. Miles Robinson misplays a cross, just can't clear. Gonzalo Higuain forces a big save from Brad Kazan. Miami was looking dangerous at times in the first half with some of the defensive mistakes, but Atlanta was able to keep the 1-0 lead for a long way. They had opportunities to potentially make it 2-0 as well. A great saving tackle there from Miami prevented a good chance and prevented possibly giving up a free kick or a penalty kick. Brad Kazan was called upon multiple times, but under pressure as the game went on, you could see the effect of so many games for Atlanta United. They were sloppy at times. There were some mistakes made because Miami forced them into those mistakes as the day went on. Federico Higuain's inclusion in the match was a very big deal, and you see his run off the ball here. That freezes Santiago Sosa, it freezes George Bello, and it gave Lewis Morgan the space to score the equalizer in the second half.
Yeah, it's too bad, too. As we were calling the match on Sunday, it was starting to feel like, okay, come on, clock, come on. Getting really, really close to maybe getting out of this with 3 points. But you could tell Inter Miami was definitely wearing down a tired Atlanta United side in the second half. And I'm still not convinced that's a penalty. I know that Phil Neville thought it was, but Atlanta United had to live a little bit dangerously in the final couple minutes of the match to get the draw. They do get the draw, and I think this is what's really important. Atlanta United has had to play 5 road matches this year, and they've gotten results in 4 of them. That's really not bad, especially when you consider that a first half red card in one of the matches. They had to play at Orlando in conditions. They had to play at Miami in conditions. These are tough road matches, and Atlanta United does get the point and stay above the playoff line at this very early stage in the Eastern Conference.
It's one of those matches where I think both teams will feel like they could have gotten all 3 points, and both teams will also feel like they could have lost. It was a match that could have went either way at multiple times. I think Atlanta will feel like they should have put the game away in the first half when they were in more control of it. Miami will feel like they should have gotten another opportunity. There have been complaints about a potential handball on one play with Miles Robinson, that last sequence that we saw in the highlight reel of Brad Kazan on Victor Ulloa. I think Kazan makes the save, and I mean, his arms can't immediately like retract like it's go gadget arms or anything. Like, what's he supposed to do? Ulloa has already lost the ball, and he's looking for something there, in my opinion. The referee did look at it. It did go to VAR. It was not ruled a penalty, so it finishes 1-1. Atlanta has some things they can build on. We'll see if they can this week.
Well, Jake Mulroney is going to have a big role in determining if Atlanta United is going to be able to build on what they've done over their last two matches. Jurgen Damm, we expect he's going to be out again on Saturday. So Jake Mulroney has really had to step up. You mentioned he had a role in Joseph's goal on Sunday, but let's dig in a little bit more about Jake Mulroney, someone who has an assist and 8 shots in 4 league matches this year.
He gets the secondary assist for that pass to Heineman, but notice Mulroney continued his run as well. He slips it in, but continues the run. That pulls Brooks Shea with him. That opens up the space. This is a better angle on it where you see the buildup. Plays it into Heineman, who drops back for it. His run keeps Shea out of that sequence. It takes Brek Shea away from the ball. That movement is something we've seen from Jake Mulroney consistently. We didn't expect to see this spinning through trouble inside the 18 to create a great opportunity that Heineman ended up blasting into the back of the net. I think Mulroney might have surprised himself with those moves inside the 18. The little pullback, the pullback again, continuing the spin, cuts around Medran, cuts around another defender, Calvo, and gets a great opportunity. That's a world-class sequence from Jake Mulroney inside the 18. To force that save, Heineman gets the goal. Mulroney doesn't get any credit on this because his shot was saved, but that's all Jake Mulroney, creating something out of nothing through hard work. And it's going to be that. If you're going to come in and take the time away from Jurgen Damm, who's injured right now, Jurgen Damm's going to have to work very hard to get his spot back because Jake Mulroney is consistently putting in the work, the runs off the ball, challenging himself in tough spots. We know he's going to give you that hard work defensively as well. Really impressed with Jake Mulroney so far this season.
He's really, really close to scoring, too. In fact, maybe the third time will be a charm this weekend. Came really, really close in that sequence against Chicago and had one in Miami in the first half where, unfortunately, he just didn't really strike the ball cleanly, unfortunately, and ended up scuffing a shot. Otherwise, Atlanta United may have been up 2-0 going into halftime. Okay, so it's been a busy week. We've had the Miami match in the rearview mirror. Now we're looking ahead to Montreal. Earlier this week, Miles Robinson and Franco Ibarra shared their thoughts with the media. So let's listen into that.
We didn't have a chance to talk to you, I believe, this weekend, but what was it like for you to see not only Joseph, score his first goal, and what does that mean for the team that he just keeps continuing to get better?
Yeah, no, it was great. It was definitely a long time coming. He's, to get that first goal back after, a tough injury. And, you could see the emotion in him. The celebration was awesome. Hugging Mario, that was definitely really great. Both those guys are really, emotional guys, and they've worked both, very hard over the last, 14 months. But yeah, it was great to see.
Hey, Miles, it's Marcel Portu. You've had about a month and a half of in-game activity with Coach Heinze. How has the adjustment been just as a team, especially on the defensive end, on your specialty, just getting used to a system and now actually implementing it into play?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely growing. There's definitely been mistakes last game, the game before that, but it's just about going over the mistakes, going over the film with Gabby, and learning about what he wants from us tactically. We watched a lot of film, and we definitely are progressing, and I'm excited to see where we can go from here.
Is there an area of emphasis that he wants you to focus to get better on, or to continue to improve, to just build on? Any one or two things he's told you specifically?
I'm not sure about anything specifically, but it's just a matter of where he wants us positionally wise, and whether he wants us to stay with a man or switch players, and the defensive third and stuff like this. But yeah, it's just a matter of like understanding, you know, everything he wants, yeah, defensively. But I think we're definitely growing.
Miles, how much are you looking forward to playing back in front of a full crowd at Mercedes-Benz Stadium this weekend?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. It's been a long time coming, and it'll probably be like national news or something. The crowd we're expecting, but I'm definitely excited to get back to a full crowd at the Benz. Yeah, just thinking about it gets me happy, but it should be good for sure.
Okay. I'm curious, what's the largest crowd you've played in front of in your professional career?
¿Cuál es el público más grande que en un estadio en que has jugado en un partido en tu carrera?
Sí, se podría decir del Atlanta. La verdad que en Argentina yo jugaba en un equipo donde el estadio no es muy grande, no tiene muchos fanáticos.
You could say the crowd here in Atlanta, because I played for a club in Argentina where the stadium wasn't that big, so there weren't always a lot of fans.
What have your teammates told you to expect just from the atmosphere-wise?
¿Qué te han dicho los compañeros de Atlanta sobre el ambiente que hay en el estadio Mercedes-Benz?
No, nada, la verdad que me dijeron que disfrute y que esto era un show. La verdad que me sorprendí mucho porque no pensaba que era así. La verdad que es muy diferente a Argentina y es una sensación muy linda. La verdad que me súper sorprendió los fanáticos. ¿Verdad?
They just told me to enjoy it and that it's a show, and it's something that surprised me because I wasn't really expecting it coming from Argentina, but just to enjoy it, and I've been surprised.
Playing in front of a crowd, will that kind of start to feel like a step toward life returning to normal after all the COVID stops and starts and everything?
¿Tú crees que jugando un partido con un público así es como un paso más al volver a la normalidad?
Sí, la verdad que sí, porque por este tema del COVID bueno, no había público y nada, te vuelvo a repetir, jugar con el público y con tus fanáticos es algo muy lindo y yo creo que no puede faltar en este deporte.
Yeah, I think that with COVID, we haven't been able to, but I'll just say it again that I think playing in front of a home crowd is a beautiful experience. So we're excited for it.
Oh, good to hear from Miles and Franco. Let's check in from the Proving Ground now. This is going to be a busy week for Atlanta United too, Jason. They're going to play in Oklahoma City on Sunday, and then Wednesday, finally at Kennesaw for a home match against Tulsa. I'm sure the guys are really, really excited to finally play a match in a friendly atmosphere.
Yeah, going to Louisville to open the season, that's a tough match in the USL Championship. Then a long trip out to Oklahoma City that you come back with 3 points on the goal from Philip Goodrum. Unfortunately, he was injured not too long after scoring that goal. He's had to have a surgical procedure. He's going to be out for a little while. Really hope to see Goodrum get back and get some consistent playing time later in the year. Such a creative player in the final third. Looked like this was going to be a big year for him. Hopefully, this is just a short-term setback for Philip Goodrum. But now you go back to Oklahoma City again, which is very strange, where you have a week off. You go back to play the team that you played a couple of weeks ago. Then you turn around on short rest and play at home. I'm curious to see what the roster looks like for the trip, but then also what the roster looks like for that home match, because first team players who don't get a chance to play, maybe they're on the bench on Saturday night against Montreal, maybe their number doesn't get called, wouldn't be shocked to see them get an opportunity, at least a 45-minute run out on Wednesday at home against Tulsa.
Yeah, you have some first team players who need to get some game time right now. Maybe that'll happen on Wednesday. Efrain Morales is on a first team homegrown contract, but he's playing with the twos this year, even as he trains with the first team. In fact, that's something that Efrain discussed with us this week when we had an opportunity to talk to the young man from Decatur about the two seasons so far and what's to come this week. Efrain, you were with the U12s, and actually you're the first graduate from that U12 group to go all the way into a first team contract. So you've been with the club for a while, even though you're only 17 years old. And I'm wondering, what part of your game do you feel like has developed the most since you joined this club as a U12?
Definitely tactically. I mean, obviously from a young kid, you just step on the field and just run wherever you want, do whatever you want. I mean, coming into the club finally gave some organization of my game. And through the years, I've just learned how to play, I guess you can say, that Lane United way. So, I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. Tactically was just a whole nother level.
What was something when you were learning the Atlanta United way? What was something that really jumped out to you to define what that means?
Yeah, the way, honestly, the biggest thing for me was the way we shared the ball. One touch, two touch. If you take more than three touches, you're gonna get pounded by the other good players that I have around me. So, I mean, more than anything, sharing the ball and moving it from side to side was probably one of the biggest things.
You've had two big personal moments in the last year, and I want to ask you about both of them. First, take me back to your professional debut with Atlanta United 2 last summer against Charleston, and in your very first match, you score a goal. What did that feel like?
That was, I mean, it was really, that one was really unexpected, especially since I had just come off of injury. And you can ask anyone, I was supposed to play, I think, 10 minutes that game for injury reasons. And one of our center backs got hurt. So they had to throw me in the deep end. And thankfully, I was able to handle that. When I actually did end up scoring, I mean, I rarely score. Playing center back is just not normal. So when I did score, it was a really good feeling, especially having Coach Tony as my coach, who I've known since I was 12 years old.
Well, and around the same time, you got your first team contract. You signed as a homegrown with the MLS club in your hometown. I can only imagine what that must have felt like, culminating so many years of hard work. Take me through that day when you finally put pen to paper. What did it feel like?
Yeah, it was a long process. I mean, growing up, I mean, soccer, well, as you know, soccer is really starting to blow up in the US. So before it was playing soccer for a college scholarship. And when the opportunity really came to sign a professional contract, it was honestly unreal. It was unreal. And I didn't even know that was like even a possibility. And signing pen to paper was really big, but also at the same time almost natural with Atlanta United, because I mean I just felt connected to the club since a super young age.
Who are some of the other players at Atlanta United that you've learned a lot from so far?
I've been watching Miles Robinson for sure. He's definitely a big player. I mean, everyone knows how good he is. I mean, you have George Campbell also taking steps in the first team, even though he's not that much older than me. I mean, I'm just trying to learn from everyone around me. You also have Mo Jadama, who was an Atlanta United 2 player last year, who I also think I looked up to him a bit. So those are some players.
Well, let's talk about the two seasons so far. You got a good result in Oklahoma City. We were talking off camera about all the travel you've been going through to start the season. And now finally we've got a home match coming up Wednesday next. But just tell me how you feel the first couple matches have gone in this USL season, and how you feel personally about what's happened with you in these first couple weeks of the USL season.
Yeah, so a lot of players going in and out. We've just been trying to get steady. Players coming in from the first team, players coming in from college, players coming in from England, just like Connor Stanley, who recently joined the club. So now that we kind of have that kind of figured out, I think we're really starting to bond as a team. And with that, I mean, we've had our ups and downs, but I think we're finally finding some stability in our game. And with Coach Tony and Coach Henry, they're really implementing some good strategies, especially for the game following up.
How has it been bringing the group together with so many players, training with the first team, going back and forth, a lot of movement between what the lineups look like? Is that hard for you to adjust to?
I would say it's definitely difficult. It's definitely difficult, but at the same time, going up with the first team and just watching them train is already a great thing. You see what they want us to do, and you see great players do it. And with that, you just go back down to the USL practice and you try to copy what they did.
We've heard a lot of the first team players talk about how intense the trainings were in training camp and also in match week under Heinze. I'm wondering what you have observed as you have participated in those trainings. How much information are you getting, and how difficult is it to try to kind of process that on the fly as you're going through training?
Yeah, luckily I speak Spanish and English, so my parents are Hispanic, so that's a big advantage from my standpoint. For those who speak only English, I mean, I can imagine the difficulty. Heinz definitely has a lot of passion for the team, and I mean, I love that. And it's definitely tough at times to get it all together. But when you do get it together, I mean, you obviously see results, so it's good. I think it's great.
What's something you've taken away so far in 2021 that you want to continue to work on and improve in your game?
So specifically for me, I've been in and out of injury for probably the last year. So for me, it's just really, really focusing on my health and focusing on my body and strengthening that body so that I can actually play consistently. So yeah, I'd say that.
All right, a non-soccer question for you. I remember asking George Bello after he scored his first MLS goal how it felt, and he told me he had to go back and do science homework. So you're a professional soccer player for Atlanta United. You're also a teenager. Do you still have time to do teenager things?
I mean, obviously, I signed my first professional contract during COVID, so obviously during that time, I mean, no friends, no nothing, focus on one thing. But now that things are kind of starting to lighten up a bit, and I got the vaccine, I'm able to hang out with my friends again, and I think that's really good from a mental standpoint. And I mean, the school situation is always difficult. I mean, I'm sitting at my computer every day, but I think I've been able to balance it pretty nicely. So with soccer and my teen life, I think it's been all right.
Off the field, what are some of the things you like to do?
I mean, always playing some basketball. I'm a big basketball fan. Like last Saturday, I had to sit 4 hours for a test. So I mean, that school is also another big thing that comes in.
Who's your favorite basketball team?
Probably the Hawks. I actually just recently went to a Hawks game the other night with a friend, so I like to watch them play.
All right, so
go ahead,
as a center back, do you try to maybe be more of a Clint Capella?
Yeah.
Or do you want to emulate a Trae Young in some of his style as well?
I mean, obviously Trae Young's probably more of a striker type thing. So yeah, if I were to compare myself to someone, I would have said Clint Capella.
Nice.
Well, Efren, it's great to talk to you. The Twos are going to be home in Kennesaw Wednesday next. For people who are going to come out to the match, I know it's going to mean a lot to the team to get some support behind you, some home support, because you've had to play in some hostile atmospheres the first couple of weeks. So can you just briefly talk about how it's going to feel to play in front of home fans at Kennesaw next week?
Yeah, no, it'll really be great, especially last year having no fans at all. I mean, it gets a little tense on the field, but I mean, I think definitely having those fans there with that atmosphere will definitely give an advantage to the team. We got a nice field, we got a nice team. Fans will definitely make a big difference as well. So against Louisville, tough crowd, but it's just like that we can do the same thing.
And you have not, since you signed a pro deal, you haven't had a chance to play in front of fans yet, have you?
Against Louisville, I got to play about 10 minutes, and that was, I think, 8,000 people, and that was probably the biggest crowd I've ever played against in my whole life, and that was insane. So I'm looking forward to play with some of our own fans.
Get ready, because 70,000 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium is in your near future. I have a feeling about that. That's going to be quite a jump.
Yeah, it's crazy. I hope so.
Efren, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule between being a pro soccer player and homework and class and all of that to join us. We really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Great chatting with Efren Morales. I'm really excited to see him get more match time. He's one of them that needs games right now, but he's been a really important part of the academy system. He's been with the club since the age of 12. And it's going to be fun to really watch him blossom in front of our eyes.
Yeah, this is a player who went to Manchester United to train for a little while and turned some heads and really turned some heads and probably had a big factor in earning that homegrown deal at such a young age. Because Efrain Morales wasn't like Jackson Conway, for example, getting a homegrown deal, who had significant experience in USL. When Morales signed his homegrown deal, he had not played in the USL Championship yet. He was very young. He immediately gets an opportunity, and as he told us, he gets a goal in his debut in USL Championship. If he can stay healthy this year, continue to grow into his body, he's got amazing size for a center back. But as a young player who started his career playing in the midfield, he's very technical. He's very good on the ball. That's exactly the kind of center back that Atlanta United looks for, and it's exactly the kind of center back that a lot of major clubs around the world are looking for. Can't wait to see Morales get consistent playing time and continue to grow as a professional.
Don't forget Wednesday night again, Atlanta United 2 against Tulsa at Fifth Third Bank Stadium in Kennesaw. Okay, since last we spoke on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff, we've had literally dozens of matches played in MLS. So we've got a lot of highlights to show you. We've got a lot of games to go over. Let's start with the finality of week 4, the weekend matches, and most of these were actually played before Atlanta United played on Sunday afternoon down in Miami. But it was the first kind of rivalry week of the season in MLS, and some of these rivalry matches produced some surprising scorelines, Jason.
Yeah, a few were about what you would expect in a rivalry. Dallas and Houston battled to a 1-1 draw. Orlando and NYC, a rivalry, both coming into the league in 2015, a 1-1 draw. Thought it was a very compelling El Tráfico out in Los Angeles, with the Galaxy getting the better of LAFC. Maybe one of the most surprising results of the weekend was not in a rivalry match, but Colorado over Minnesota after the Loons had taken a 2-0 lead. I didn't see that one coming. I kept waiting for Minnesota to see that one out, get their first win of the season. It took them a few more days to get there, but that was a shocking result for the Rapids.
Yeah, I don't think the Loons saw it coming either. Let's get to some of the highlights now from the weekend matches, and then we'll get to what happened on Wednesday night around MLS. I'll tell you what, we have had some golazos already in the league this year. This one might take the cake. I feel like we're saying every week now, oh, that's the goal of the year in MLS. And then every week someone does something else to one-up it.
Yeah, what is it about this year with these golazos everywhere? Rubio Rubin for Real Salt Lake, who has gotten off to an amazing start, chests it to himself, hits the full bike. He's being defended tightly as well. There's not a lot of space for this. What an amazing goal to see in this league. It looked like RSL's cruising at that point. San Jose says not so fast. Chris Wondolowski says not so fast. That's a classic Wando goal, poaching inside the 6. You leave it late like the Quakes are so prone to do, and you cannot give Wondolowski a look at the back post on a header. Perfect textbook from the legend.
I was really impressed with Nashville against New England. The Revolution coming off their 2-1 win over Atlanta United. And how about Nashville throwing up a 2-0 clean sheet win over the Revolution on Saturday?
Yeah, that's a big win for Nashville, who there had been some questions with 3 draws in the first 3. They needed 3 points in the bag because they had so many games at home early on. Great way to see it out there from Alex Muil. Montreal had a tough one when they went to Utah to face Vancouver. That's a long trip, and Vancouver's one of those up and down teams that can cause you problems. You give up an early penalty, you're going to have more problems. This was a tough trip for the former Montreal Impact, now Club de Foot. Vancouver took care of business at Rio Tinto with a 2-0 win. And we'll get into the second game for Montreal later in the week. This is one that I don't know how much you take out of it because of the travel, Mike. It's a disappointing result for Montreal.
But it is tough. And remember that the Eastern Conference teams are only playing one road match at the Western Conference. This is something that Atlanta United is going to have to deal with next week when they go to Seattle. Now, Orlando and New York City, a 1-1 draw here. It feels like Orlando has been playing to a lot of really competitive, hard-fought draws so far this year. And Nani, again, what can you say about him?
Yeah, it feels like Nani has been involved in everything for Orlando, but they gave up a penalty. The guy who signs a new 5-year deal this week, Tati Castellanos, he buries it. That's a 1-1. Points dropped by Orlando. The Galaxy, that tackle in the middle of the field, it's a strong challenge right here, ends up being an assist. Chicharito just pounces on it and buries the opportunity quickly. Now, LAFC did answer back, and it's a goal that you thought maybe this is going to be where LAFC starts to take over. Diego Rossi with a nice finish in space, beats the goalkeeper Bond, but the LA Galaxy were not done, and Chicharito was not done. This time he plays provider. Jonathan Dos Santos slots it home. That assist from Chicharito on the nutmeg, what a pass.
Yeah, Chicharito, and you could probably make a case for Rui Diaz. Chicharito, I believe, is the player of the year in the league to this point. Now let's get into this Loons-Colorado match. This was the stunner with Minnesota, as you said, Jason, scoring 2 quick goals, and Colorado coming back in the second half and taking all 3 points.
2-0 up in the 25th minute. You have the free kick golazo. You have another good finish. It looks like Colorado's going to pack it in at that point. And then Minnesota just started to feel it a bit. Kellen Acosta wakes things up with a great volley from the top of the 18. Hits that pure at the top of the 18. No chance for the goalkeeper to make the save. You spill across. You give them an equalizer here. Dane St. Clair ended up losing his starting job, maybe partially because of that. And you cannot give Colorado set pieces. Danny Wilson gets forward, goes up over everybody, wins the header. That's a horrible loss for Minnesota. Austin is going to feel a little hard done by as well because they had the lead. John Gallagher, our old friend, gets the opener on a great pass from Stroud. A lot of composure from Gallagher to put that away. But then you had a red card. You had a second yellow to Alexander Ring. Sporting Kansas City took complete control of the match. Peter Vermes was happy with the way they responded. It took them until the 90th minute to find a winner, but they eventually did, and Kansas City beat Austin after a good performance. Austin and Josh Wolf's going to feel like they should have got more out of that.
I was really, really impressed with Austin. I continue to be really impressed by them because I feel like SKC might be the second best team in the West right now, behind only Seattle. So that was a really, really good showing for them on the road. Now, we did have midweek matches on Wednesday. We'll get into some of these in a second here, but what stands out the most to you? I see Minnesota in a must-win type of situation. They get it done, and Columbus, Jason, is confusing me right now.
A little bit. That's a big win for Toronto, and Toronto's nowhere near full strength just yet. That's a statement from Chris Armas's team that they're not going to be a team that just watches Columbus or New England or Philadelphia or hopefully Atlanta just run away from everybody in the Eastern Conference. Toronto's going to be in the mix. Jefferson Soteldo, with his first start, he's going to be a problem in this league. A really talented 5'2", but incredibly talented player. I still think it's Atomic Ant 2.0 with Soteldo replacing Giovinco in that tiny spark plug role for Toronto. The one that stands out to me is the win for Minnesota. It was not convincing. It wasn't pretty, but it was a must. They had to get 3 points because if you go 0-5 to start the season coming off of a Western Conference final appearance, that's alarm bells. It still might need to be alarm bells, but at least they get 3 points to stop the bleeding for now.
How many great players in this league have been 5'2" or under?
I don't know if anybody's
Luciano
been under
Acosta,
5'2".
Luciano Acosta always comes to mind. He would have been 5'1" in shoes that gave him the extra inch. I mean, he was not the tallest guy in the world, but he was a really great player.
Well, he's in Cincinnati now. So when we get Cincinnati and Toronto playing with Acosta versus Soteldo, that'll be a fun matchup.
I guess we'll find out. So That was the midweek action in MLS. And if we want to dig a little bit deeper into it now, we can. There was also a Thursday match with Chicago and DC. DC won that match 1-0. But let's look at the highlights from Wednesday here.
Toronto, with their win at Exploria Stadium over Columbus, crazy sequence to get the opener. Michael Bradley ends up, after a shot's blocked, after some pinball action, Bradley slots it home. I was shocked at this miss from Jossie Zardes. That first touch just got away from him enough to where he couldn't find it. Soteldo with an opportunity that's cleared away. But Toronto felt like they were in control of this one almost the whole way. They had a ton of chances. And who would have bet on first Josie Altidore almost breaking the crossbar, and then he ends up getting his goal? But who would have bet on Bradley and Altidore as your goal scorers in 2021 for Toronto? I don't think anybody had that one.
Not too many people among our viewers, I'm pretty sure of
No.
that. Now, Montreal, Miami. Montreal gets 2 quick goals before a lightning delay to win this 2-0.
Yeah, Miami looked a little tired from the game on Sunday against Atlanta. Bjorn Johnson at 6'5" with pace is a really interesting player who hasn't put it all together just yet. I hope he's not putting it together ahead of a trip to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But the partnership with Bjorn and Romel Kyoto up top is a difficult one to defend. You saw Miami have problems with it, with that lack of pace at center back. They struggled to deal with those two big, strong, fast, powerful, but also very intelligent players. That second goal from Bjorn Johnson, just a delicate touch to find the back of the net. Philadelphia, New England canceled each other out a little bit here. Philadelphia at home, maybe you expected a little bit more from the Union in this one.
Yeah, and we talked about it before the match on Wednesday. This one was really hard to call for me because Philadelphia, with all the match compression being in CONCACAF, much like Atlanta United, New England, a team that I thought used match compression of their opponent to their advantage in Foxborough against Atlanta United, now almost 2 weeks ago, they are dealing with match compression for the first time, and it ends up being a pretty evenly played 1-1 draw.
Teal Bunbury with the goal for New England. You can't count Teal Bunbury out. He always seems to pop up in dangerous spots for the Revolution. And this was a really weird sequence where Philadelphia got their equalizer. I thought Kasper Shabilko fouled Matt Turner. I thought he might have handled the ball. They don't call it. They did look at it, and it leads to the goal for Philly to get a point. Houston and Kansas City coming in. You look at the rosters, you look at what these teams have done over the years, you expect Sporting Kansas City to be a pretty clear favorite, even on the road. But the Houston Dynamo, under Tab Ramos in year 2, are starting to show a little bit more competitive fire. Derek Jones was a really nice acquisition for them. Maxio Durruti gets the goal. You had fireworks late. Tab Ramos ended up being sent off in this match, so he will miss their match this weekend. Kansas City had their opportunities to level it. They were unable to do so. And now we're into that Minnesota-Vancouver game that we talked about. It felt like a slog for a long way, and it also felt like Vancouver was going to find a goal to open up the scoring. I don't know how Minnesota would have responded to falling behind at home. I think that crowd has to be a little on edge in St. Paul right now with the early season results. And it was a lot of Vancouver early on. Christian Dahomey was a handful for Minnesota defensively, but eventually the Loons wore them down. Ramon Abila gets the goal up top. He came on off the bench. It wasn't a convincing goal. It wasn't a convincing win, but 3 points are 3 points. San Jose, Seattle closed things out on Wednesday. This was a crazy MLS After Dark game that you would expect. A penalty being decided there and then wiped away as it should have been, as you see that highlight. Seattle had some injuries that are going to affect them maybe in the long term, but they did get the 3 points in San Jose here.
Yeah, I'm impressed with Seattle again with match compression. This is a team that is not exceptionally deep. In fact, they had to sign a player off Tacoma Defiance, a 16-year-old homegrown player, just to fill out their team sheet on Wednesday. And as we know, San Jose plays in a way that's going to make you work. They're going to make you run a little bit. So I thought that was a pretty solid 1-0 win for Seattle. Now, here's the lineup for this week. Matches on Saturday and Sunday. Quite a few matches on Sunday, by the way. I'll tell you, maybe it's a testament to just how strong the Western Conference is right now, but it feels like every time we look at Seattle's fixture list, they're playing a really, really good opponent.
Yeah.
And sure enough, this week again, Seattle and LAFC Sunday night on FS1.
Yeah, likely no Stephen Fry in that one after he was injured, and they had already used all their substitutions in the match on Wednesday. Alex Roldan had to go in goal and make 3 saves. It's got to be the first time in MLS history, and maybe one of the first times in soccer history, that a brother scores the goal that wins the match. That Christian Roldan goal was a golazo. And then his brother, who's a field player, not a goalkeeper, makes 3 saves late to seal the win. That's a unique family double that I don't think we'll ever see again.
I'm also anxious to see what Josh Wolf may have in store for Chicharito. LA Galaxy did not have to play midweek, nor did Austin. Let's see if Austin can continue to prove themselves, because they've been probably my biggest surprise, maybe along with Montreal, the two teams that I was expecting very little from this year, who have really exceeded expectations so far.
I will give you the hipster game of the week. It's
Uh-oh.
Saturday at 9:30. Nobody's talking about it, but RSL hosting Nashville could be a really good match. Nashville hasn't lost. RSL hadn't lost until San Jose came in and beat them last Friday. Two teams that are scoring goals and big goals. Rubio Rubin has been in great form for Real Salt Lake. Nashville starting to get forward so much more this year under Gary Smith. That could be a sneaky good game.
I just wonder if they're going to be able to break Nashville down. Nashville has gone more than 180 minutes without conceding. So I'll be curious, but that is a good one. That's under the radar. We'll have our eyes on that after Atlanta United and Montreal finish up Saturday night. That'll be a 7:00 kickoff. So we'll have plenty of time to get home and watch Nashville and RSL. Let's talk a little bit about Club de Foot Montreal. They are not the Impact anymore. They've gone through a rebranding. They had Thierry Henry leave in the middle of training camp, so Wilfred Nancy is now their interim manager. And like I said, they've exceeded my expectations, and I think a lot of league observers as well. 2-1-2 in their first 5 league matches, coming off a win Wednesday night over Inter Miami. We showed you the highlights, 2-0. They did lose Georgi Mihailovic in that match due to injury, but they were also rotating a little bit and still got a 2-0 win. Wanyama did not play. They had a couple other players either play very little or not at all. So I was thinking / hoping, Jason, that Atlanta United would have a little bit of an edge because they did not have to play midweek. But I have to really tip my cap to that Montreal staff for being able to rotate and still get a 2-0 win.
There are some players who we expect to see at the Bend Saturday night who had to play a lot of minutes in that one. The back line has been consistent all year with Struno, with Camacho, with Miller. It's a good 3-back setup, but they've played the majority of the minutes all year long. The idea of giving Wanyama the night off, you couldn't predict that Mihailovic was going to get injured, but now it's even more important because Wanyama might have to push forward a little bit more in this one to give that presence that Georgi Mihailovic has had all season long. He's been outstanding. Great acquisition for Montreal. Chicago probably regrets it the way their season has gone. Mihailovic has been the one pulling the strings. And this 3-5-2 that Montreal is playing under Wilfred Nancy is a little difficult because of some of the unique characters in it. They get good wing play from the wing backs. We saw Lapalainen on Wednesday. Kiza has played there a good bit this season. Broguillard on the other side is very dangerous in the attack. So you're getting good width and good wide play in the attack. You have forwards who are comfortable drifting out wide if the game calls for it, with Romel Kyoto, who played on the wing for Houston throughout his career. He's played on the wing for the Honduran national team. And Bjorn Johnson, who's 6'5", but doesn't play like a 6'5" target forward. He can drift, he can run, he can drag defenders out wide. So when I look at this game, Mihailovic being absent is the biggest question mark for Montreal if he doesn't make the return back. And we have not heard a medical update on him. Mason Toye has also missed a couple of games up top, but you have cover there. It just might be a little bit tired now after playing on Wednesday. The biggest question for me is how do you replace Mihailovic's impact if he is not able to play? And that was not intended since they are the former Montreal Impact.
You just got a big smile out of me. That seemed like a very delicious pun there, Jason.
It was not intended. I heard it in my head as I was saying it. It was subconscious. But Mihailovic missing is huge for Montreal if he's unable to go. And he had to leave the match in the first half on Wednesday. It didn't look great in terms of the injury, so I'd be a little surprised if he's able to bounce back, at least to start. Wanyama's just a different player. He can impact the game, again, in the final third, but that's not where he is best suited. You like him to make later runs. You like him a little bit deeper in the team. So how do they replace that? That will be the biggest question for Wilfried Nancy. And if you're Gabriel Heinze and you look at Montreal and you know they're going to play two up top, so that likely means you'll have a third center back in the team. Is it Alan Franco with Anton Walkes and Miles Robinson? Or is it Santiago Sosa, who we've seen drop into the back line in these situations as well? Both are possible. And what do you expect Montreal to do to replace Mihailovic if he's unavailable? And how do you stretch that three center backs out? How do you get Kamal Miller, Kiki Struna defending out wider? That width for Atlanta in the final third, going into the final third, will be very important in nullifying some of the good things about Montreal. This should be a fun match. It should be an open match. Two teams that want to play. I'm really looking forward to calling it.
It's funny you bring up width. We don't go over our predictions in advance.
Nope.
We surprise each other with that, but you've actually kind of played a role into my predictions. I will say this, by the way. It's going to be hard with Mihailovic out for Montreal. Mihailovic and Toye both being out could be really, really tricky for them. But Kyoto, that's one that I have my eye on. He came over to Montreal when Wilmer Cabrera, who was his manager in Houston, took over at Montreal. So, and he's been held over now by, I guess, the subsequent two managers. So keep an eye on him. Okay, who wants to go first? Because I think neither one of us have gotten any of these right this year.
We haven't gotten anything right. I think it's like this is watched by the staff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're not doing that. That's crazy."
Well,
come on.
Well, then maybe I should retract my prediction because I predict something that I think they should try to do.
Okay.
Look, we talked about how Montreal had to play midweek. They had to sit through a 2.5-hour lightning delay. They did not get out of the park until after midnight on Wednesday, practically into Thursday morning. So they very likely had a short regen day. They're going to have to travel day of game on Saturday up to Atlanta. I think they're going to be tired. I want to see Atlanta United attacking down the flanks, playing wide. And my prediction is, Jason, Atlanta United will score a goal off a cross because I think Mulroney and Moreno are going to be very, very important as Atlanta United tries to stretch Montreal wide and exploit what I think is going to be some tired legs on their wingbacks. So I predict Atlanta United will score a goal off a cross on Saturday.
That's a great shout. And we've seen it in the last two matches at Philadelphia and then at Fort Lauderdale against Inter Miami. The side for Atlanta in the attacking half has been very focused on getting Brooks Lennon isolated to deliver dangerous crosses. He's one of the best in the league with his crossing. He picks out players consistently. He varies the delivery. I think that'll be a huge factor here. If it's not one of the wingers delivering the cross that leads to a goal, Mike, I think it's Brooks Lennon, who's been so good at that this season. So I got to go in a different direction. This is an interesting one to call because of that formation that Montreal plays. And we have enough data now to expect three center backs for Atlanta United to deal with that. And I also think you have Alan Franco now who's ready to come in. He's had a little bit of a break as well. I think he's a little more accustomed to this way of playing. So I think Alan Franco gets the start along with Anton Walkes and Miles Robinson, which will push Santiago Sosa a little bit higher in the three-back setup than we've seen. Sosa's dropped and played center back. Sosa as a midfielder in some version of a 3-4-3, depending on how much width you want to create with Lennon and Bello, or if it's very flexible. Sosa pushed higher up the field could be the difference in this one, in my opinion. My prediction is Santiago Sosa has a goal or an assist against Montreal.
Whoa. You know, that would make Sosa the leading goal scorer on this team if he scores on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Goal or an assist from Santi Sosa.
I like it. All right. Well, we're both calling for goals. I have a bonus prediction, by the way.
Ooh.
The roof will be open at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's my bonus prediction. I feel safe on that one, but that's not going to count in my my match prediction.
Can I give a bonus prediction too?
Go right ahead.
It's going to be loud.
Yes, it is.
It's going to be really loud.
I can't wait for it. And remember, too, that if you haven't gotten a vaccine yet and you want to get a Pfizer vaccine, you can do it at the match. You don't have to miss a thing. You can do it from the 300 level Sky Bridge. They're going to be giving Pfizer vaccines in the first half so you can watch the match and get a jab. They'll also be doing vaccines if you don't have a ticket near the supporters tailgate, lot 17 on Saturday afternoon. So keep that in mind as well. But I agree. I think it's going to be loud. We've heard the players talking this week, and you heard Miles and Franco talk about it earlier. It's going to be so great to have 40,000 plus voices all behind you. It's been more than a year, and it's going to be very much needed and very much appreciated. And I think those who are lucky enough to have a ticket and be able to attend on Saturday are going to be very entertained, because I'm with you, Jason. I think it's going to be a wide open match.
Yeah, I like this Montreal team. I like what Wilfred Nancy is doing. That attack with Kyoto, he's been one of my favorite players in the league to watch for years, going back to the Dynamo days. And that wide play from Montreal. I think with your prediction, you're dead on, because if Montreal does affect the game from wide positions in the attack, they'll have advantages. But if Atlanta can attack from wide positions, they might pin those guys back a little bit deeper and not just create chances, but nullify one of Montreal's big strengths. There will be a chess battle here between Heinze and Nancy. It's going to be a fun one to watch. I can't wait to get in the building tomorrow.
And remember, their center backs, Camacho and Miller, have each played 450 minutes already on the year and had to go a full 90 in the humidity Wednesday night at Miami. Okay, we'll be on the radio Saturday night, 6:30 for the Five Stripes Countdown on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. 7 o'clock will be the kickoff. If you want to watch the match, it'll be available on Bally Sports, ESPN Plus out of market. Jason and I will see you next week as we'll preview a really tough match for Atlanta United. They have to go to Seattle. That is not going to be fun, having to deal with them early season, but hopefully Atlanta United will get 3 points going into this match on Saturday against Montreal. Leave us a comment if there's something you'd like to see down the line on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. We're already working on some of your suggestions for future shows, so leave us a comment if there's something you'd like to see, and we will see you next week for the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff.